Shares of Lucid Group saw a significant surge recently, and we're here to talk about what's influencing this. Let's dive in. Thomas, let's jump right in and talk about the news around Lucid today. So the stock has moved up and we want to know why. Thomas, let's start with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. They reported that they're acquiring a majority of ownership stake in Lucid. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, this was, I think, the Saudis' second purchase of Lucid stock, and now they own about 60%. They give the company a lot of credibility. They certainly have access to plenty of cash. They should be well capitalized now. And the shares are getting scarce. Now they've only got 40% of the company left. There's institutional ownership as well. It's an inside ownership as well. So it's just fewer and fewer shares for retail investors, and that's helping to get the stock price up. And this isn't, well, right, hang on. This isn't like Mullen either, who said, somebody said they had a deal with the Saudis and that never materialized. That stock is still trending lower, even with the recent pop in the share price. But Lucid has a bit more credibility. They actually have an investment from the Saudis.
So recently on MarketBeat, we wrote about Lucid, and I'll go ahead and get that linked in the description below. But let's dive into this a little bit more. What can you tell us about Lucid and receiving a stake in Aston Martin?
Well, they didn't really get a stake in Aston Martin, but they got a deal to supply parts. And that's a huge deal. I like this for a couple of reasons. The first is that it puts Lucid technology into a high-end EV and opens up a new revenue stream for the company. And that's going to be really important moving forward. Second, Aston Martin plans to have an all EV lineup fairly soon, within the next few years. So this deal will absolutely grow in scope. And the third is that the Saudis own large stakes in both companies. I'm sure that they were instrumental in the deal being formed to begin with, and they may lead to additional deals as we move forward. And who knows, there could even be a merger.
All right, so these deals certainly are providing Lucid with additional resources, but the need for money is going to be ongoing. I mean, the first quarter earnings report, Lucid had stated that they had sufficient cash to sustain the operations until quarter 2 of 2024. But so what does that mean for Lucid's future prospects?
Well, right now, they've reported having approximately $4 billion in liquidity. Their CFO has confirmed that. She said they have enough cash to sustain operations, but it's crucial to remember that EV companies like Lucid are capital intensive. They need a lot of funds to get this thing operating and to get it to ramp to a position where they can be profitable. These deals provide a boost, but Lucid still needs to demonstrate an ability to deliver cars at scale, and they've been having a hard time doing that.
All right,
not to mention, they're in a very tight space. Lucid is involved in making the higher end luxury cars, and they face competition from virtually every other OEM. And that's not counting Tesla, who dominates the market.
For sure. All right. Well, another thing I'm looking for a little bit more clarification on here, Thomas, if you'd provide that, is regarding the performance of Lucid stock. I mean, despite the recent surge, Lucid has experienced a significant decline over the past year. I mean, we're talking about 66% decline. You had even said yourself that prior to the release of this news that the stock was in danger of dipping below the $5 mark. What do we make of this situation?
Well, the stock is certainly in a downtrend, and it's for a reason. It's important to remember the stock's performance in context of the EV market and its own track record. They missed their own targets last year. They were supposed to deliver about 20,000 EVs and delivered less than half of that. So that played very significantly into the outlook for revenue and for earnings and profitability, and that's why the share prices are down. It is worth noting, however, that the recent news and the recent pop in share prices presents an opportunity for a short squeeze. The short interest is about 20%, which is pretty high even for an EV OEM right now. I think Mullen, which is probably the most shortable EV stock on the market, was only running with about 16% short interest. So you can see that the short interest is pretty high on this stock.
All right, Thomas, we've produced other videos on EV companies, including the company everyone wants to be in on this sector, Tesla, as well as Rivian, multiple videos on Mullen Automotive. Are there any correlations in those companies, excluding Tesla, of course?
Well, of course, excluding Tesla. You have to remember Tesla was at one time an EV OEM as well, a startup. They've proven to be far more than that. As for the others, Lucid is in the lead as far as production and ramping production, but it is still a high risk EV startup. Rivian is close behind, but it's even riskier. Also in that same high end luxury car space. And then there's Mullen, which is even riskier. But Mullen's a little bit different because it's in a different market. Mullen's looking at those class 1 through class 4 vehicles right now, which is an untapped market for EVs. If they can get their production started, it really could be off to the races for that stock.
Thomas, besides the Saudis, are there any other big money institutions that are buying Lucid?
The stock is 71% owned by institutions. So there are some institutions buying the stock besides the Saudis, but the Saudis are the bulk of that. The institutions appear to be hanging back with the entire group. There is some interest, but there's not a lot of commitment right now.
All right. And then in an article that we've written on MarketBeat, we're talking about how a long-term investor should be looking for more. But I want to know, Thomas, is there a setup for traders right now?
Well, so investing in an EV stock other than Tesla requires a lot of patience and time because these companies are in the very early stages of their operations. Startup costs are going to be a problem. They're a problem for the legacy car companies, and some of them aren't going to make it. So for me, I think Lucid right now is more of a trade than an investment, but that brings me to like our technical lesson. So if you give me a chance to pull up my chart, let's look at the chart and talk about that for a second. So you can see that Lucid is in a pretty protracted downtrend. It's hit a bottom over here in late 2022, early 2023, caused a bounce. I believe this is when the Saudis first started buying the stock. The short sellers took advantage of that bounce and drove it right back down to a new low. So we are technically still in a downtrend because of this. However, in the bigger picture, with the Saudis having bought the stock, we've got a huge volume bump right here. You can see that. That's confirming support at this level, and we've got a nice little bounce that's moving higher. So right now what we have is a stock market that's in a partial reversal. It's hit a bottom and now it's moving sideways. The critical level of resistance is near $8. If this market can get above $8, we'll be in a full reversal and it might go back up to 12. In the very, very near term, this small little updraft looks like a bull flag. This would be the flag right here. The bulls are saying, hey, look at me. I'm getting ready to rally. So I would say within the next few days or a week or so, we'll probably see this stock move up to test $8. The question will be, what does it do then?
Thanks for your great analysis today. I think we're going to wrap it up here. To all of our viewers, please let us know if this video was helpful for you at all. The best way to do that is to subscribe and leave us a comment down below. Of course, go ahead, let us know if you agree with this analysis, if you'll be considering Lucid for your portfolio, or what your other thoughts are. Thanks, Thomas. Talk to you soon.